You're listening to the Balanced Educator Podcast, episode number 106. Welcome to the Balanced Educator. We're your hosts, Kaylee
and Josiane from EduCalm. Our intention is to equip and empower you to feel more calm, balanced, and joyful in all aspects of your life.
Hello there and welcome. We are so excited to have you here with us today. In today's episode, Josiane and I are going to be chatting about some of the challenges that you guys let us know that you're experiencing with remote teaching and learning. So we asked on Instagram what your challenges were. So we're kind of just going to go through a bunch of the different things that you guys let us know about and give you our take and our ideas, kind of like when you're running into a challenge and you go into your coworkers, your teacher friend's classroom and you chat about it to find a solution. Since you guys aren't in schools right now, you're at home, you might not have the opportunity to work those challenges out. So we're going to kind of do that for you today on this episode. Before we dive in, we're super excited to share today's sponsor, which is Zero Waste Movement. Zero Waste Movement makes it easy for you to live a more sustainable lifestyle. They sell eco-friendly, sustainable products to help you reduce your use of single-use plastic items and replace them with really beautiful and durable alternatives. I'm absolutely in love with their beeswax wraps. I use them to cover, when I cut up vegetables and I want to save half of it or something like that, I'll cover it with these beeswax wraps or cheese or to throw over, a bowl that you make a salad in and then you need to put a lid on it. So it replaces that plastic cling wrap. It lasts for a long time, and then once it has lived out its life, it's compostable. So instead of filling up landfills with plastic, you're using something that will return to the earth in the end. Definitely go check them out. They have a bunch of other products that I'm obsessed with too that I think you will enjoy. Go to zerowastemovement.com. So that's spelled zero waste MVMT, like movement without the vowels, zerowasteMVMT.com. And when you use the code EduCalm in all caps, you'll get 15% off your order. So that's EduCalme. And if you guys buy some of their products and enjoy them, definitely let us know because we love hearing that you're enjoying the products that we talk about and the brands that we talk about in our sponsorships. So before we dive in, I just want to give you a heads up that in this episode, we were experimenting with a new platform for recording our interviews online. We aren't thrilled with the quality, so we have decided that we will not be using this platform again in the future. We'll be going back to our tried and true platform that we've always used in the past. But so just bear with us. There's a little bit of glitchy sound moments in this episode, but hey, we are all learning and growing, and in the spirit of growth mindset, we wanted to just be authentic and share this episode, even though it's not the best quality. All right, enjoy. Let's dive into this episode. Josiane, I'm really pumped to be doing an episode with you today.
Right? It's been a while. And this is weird because usually we do our episodes in person. And because we are also social distancing, here we are.
Yep, doing it online.
It's fun though.
I feel like I'm interviewing a guest right now.
Ooh, fun. So I feel like before we dive in, it's important to say that we don't know the answers to most of these challenges. We're just brainstorming here. We're not experts in this, obviously. We're just in it with you guys. Well, I'm especially in it with you guys because I am teaching a grade 1 and 2 classroom right now remotely. I took this term in January, and obviously it was in-person teaching, if that's even a term.
Yeah. Not something we would have had to specify ever before, but these days.
It took a pandemic for that. So I've been teaching this group of kids for a while now, and I continued after spring and spring break, I am teaching remotely. So it's been very interesting for me. Lots of challenges because new grades for me. Like I had only taught 4 to 6 and then 9 to 12 before this. And this is why I wanted to take this position so I could kind of learn it, get to know it. I was very curious, but add that with the whole remote teaching piece, it's been quite the learning curve.
Yeah.
So a lot of the challenges that the people on Instagram, that are people on Instagram have shared, have a lot of those are things that I'm also struggling with.
Yeah.
So
and we actually got
yes.
this idea of creating an episode like this where we just like talk about the challenges and what are possible solutions when you and I were just chatting about some of the challenges you were facing at the beginning stages of this remote learning. And we kind of just, chatted it out and was like, we should do this for our audience and go over a few different challenges that people are experiencing just to kind of, like you said, we're not the experts, but sometimes it's nice to just chat it out, hear different opinions, hear different perspectives and like possible solutions that you can test out.
Yeah. And I find that the other thing is that because no one's ever done this remote teaching thing before, like we don't know what's right and what's not right. But sometimes it's just like nice to hear what other people are doing just so that like you're not completely out in the woods or whatever. Like it's just like nice to hear how other people are managing this and also that it's okay that we're managing this differently.
Yes, exactly. And that we're all just learning as we go. And it's about being flexible and adjusting. And one thing that I think is kind of interesting about this phase is that I know for us, when we did our education degree, there was so much emphasis put on reflecting on your practices. So after every single lesson that we did, we had to write a reflection for as a part of our university degree. After every single lesson we taught during our practicum, we had to write a reflection on how it went and what we would change in the future. So that practice has totally been ingrained in us. And I think that's a really cool thing in education is that we are experts at reflecting on our practices and adjusting. So I think we just need to remind ourselves that like this is what we're trained for, is to just adjust to whatever gets thrown at us. Every single year we have different students with different needs. We are used to accommodating them. So this is obviously very different from our norm, but I think it's good to start with just the reminding ourselves that like we can do this. We can totally do this. We're trained for this.
Of course we can, but also that we don't need to be like, because I think teachers are so reflective, we're also so hard on ourselves.
Yes.
So it's like, we need to reflect, but also like we've never seen something like this before. We can't expect to have it all together.
Yeah. And now is the time more than ever that we really need to practice that growth mindset. So going into it being like, I'm going to try my best with what I have and the ideas that I have now, knowing that things are going to crash and burn, and that's okay. That's all part of the learning process. We're going to be doing a ton of problem solving in lots of different ways. That's all part of the learning process.
That is actually the thing that I'm most grateful for in all this. For sure, by far, I've been realizing lately how much my mindset has changed throughout the last few years and how now I'm at a point where I've been dealing with technology issues. I've been dealing with all these different needs of different parents and students and all this, but just having that growth mindset goes so far.
Yeah. Just giving ourselves that grace of it's okay if it's not perfect. And I think it can hurt so much when we're trying so hard, right? Like all teachers right now are just going above and beyond. So when you're doing the best that you can and you're really stretching yourself right now, and then something doesn't work out, it almost hurts more because you're trying so hard.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if we just go into it knowing that mistakes are good because it teaches us something and it helps us to become better in the end.
And that's something that I've been really using with the parents too. As I'm teaching grade 1 and 2, I'm mostly communicating with parents when it comes to homework and stuff. Of course, I do meetings and that with the kids, but just reminding them that we're all in this together because they're having their struggles. And if we can just have that growth mindset, we're all going to just learn together.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. This is a really great learning experience for kids and parents too. Like everyone is just getting their lives flipped upside down right now, which is really giving us the soil, the fertilizer for some really big learning in terms of our resiliency, in terms of our social emotional learning. Like when we are hit with big challenges, that's when we grow the most. So everyone is going to be going through a maybe uncomfortable growth process, but growing pains are important and normal. So yeah, we are really all in this together, just learning as we go. So maybe let's talk right off the bat. Do you want to share maybe kind of how you're setting things up in your classroom for remote teaching and learning, just to kind of give us like a basis of what your days look like and how you're structuring it with your kids?
Yeah. So I have decided to use kind of the tools that my school division has been, let's say, teaching us to use. Like I am so lucky in my school division that we have received like webinars and all kinds of helpful instruction to learn how to use certain platforms. And so technology wise, I'm using Microsoft Teams, which there's like a whole piece of Microsoft Teams that I could really see myself using with older grades. But with the grade 1, 2 students, all I do with Teams is I host morning meetings, which me and my teaching partner do twice a week. With we're doing 2 right now with the grade 1s first, and then with the grade 2s after, because I'm still finding that it's a bit much to do the whole class together, like a lot to manage. But I'm doing morning meetings through Teams, sorry. And I'm also posting all of the work there. But I'm not like, there's a whole assignment piece that you can get students to work directly in documents and then hand them in. And I have chosen not to use that just because like I can't really picture grade 1, 2 students typing their work out, right? So I'm just getting parents to take photos of their work and send it back to me. And it seems to be working really well. Like it's so like old school.
Yeah.
In a way, but it's working, and it's like not stressful for parents because they just take their phone, snap a photo, send it our way. And I told them like, just put their name in the subject line and that's it. So they don't have to write anything. It's super simple. So that's working really well.
Yeah. Sometimes I think it's like important to just not do too much that's new. Like you chose to just go with something that parents already know how to do. They know most parents will be able to know how to snap a picture and send it through email. So making it simple for them in that way, it has probably reduced a lot of headaches and growing pains in terms of the technology.
Like I feel like sometimes as teachers, we want to do all these like grandiose things, but like at the end of the day, what's going to work is what's simple.
Yes, exactly.
And easy, right?
Yeah.
So that's been working really well.
Awesome.
And then,
one thing before you jump into,
ahead.
I think I know where you're going next, but before you do that, I just want to circle back and ask you to get a little bit more detailed about how you're doing those morning meetings. So you said you're splitting it up between first and second grade. I think that makes so much sense to have smaller groups. I don't know if that's something I would have thought of doing, but that sounds like a really smart way to manage how I did a Zoom call with my family the other day. So we had like, it was so funny. We had like, I don't know, I think there was like 8 of us. So mostly like couples, all on Zoom together. And I was just laughing so hard because, like my grandma's talking over people just because she's awesome. And like in our family we're loud talkers and, there's someone making noise in the background. And I was like, this would be so overwhelming in a classroom of 20 kids to have them all on video with like the noisiness. So yeah, it was in that moment that I was like, okay.
Yeah. And you know what? I know like some teachers are doing full class meetings, and that's totally cool if that's really like, if that's working for your classroom. And I also know other teachers who are doing groups of like 2 or 3 at a time. And if that's working for them, that's great. And this is just what's working for me. I have 10 students on one call and 9 students if all present, and it's working quite well.
Awesome. And so I know that you also have a component in that morning meeting, or at least you've mentioned it, how you give the opportunity for parents to connect with you during that morning meeting. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Okay. I'll start from the beginning, what my morning meeting looks like.
Sounds good.
I send the kids a question that they will be answering the day before. So I email a question out, and it's like really simple things. Like yesterday, I asked the students to show me a precious item in their house and to just say what it is and why it's important to them. So it's like just simple things like that. But with French immersion, especially at these really young grades, right? Like they're just learning French. And so what's most important during these meetings, in my perspective anyway, what's most important is that they get that practice in, because most of them, their parents don't speak French, right? So they have to have opportunities to speak it. So I'll get on the call, and then sometimes I'll ask them like, oh, what'd you do this weekend? And then some of them will share, and then I'll dive into the question of that morning meeting. So I give them each the chance to speak. And one thing that has been super useful for anyone who is frustrated with like the mic and feedback situation, I literally practiced with my students the first like couple morning meetings, just turning the mic on and off. And I forgot to mention this detail, that at the very start of the morning meeting, I say, okay, I'm going to say bonjour and your name. Now, when I say that, unmute your mic, say bonjour, madame, and then re-mute it, just to like practice again that like turning the mic on and off, because that was like a whole thing for that age, right? And I wanted them to learn how to do it by themselves so that they're not relying on their parents, because often the parents are like dealing with another one of their children's work, or they have their own meetings or whatever, right? So that was really useful. And now that they have it down packed, like it's working so well because I'm not hearing any feedback. I can always hear the student that is talking, that I've asked to speak, and it's running really well. And then at the end of morning meeting, I ask them how their work is going. And I also at that time asked the parents the same question. So I switched to English just to ask that. And I asked the parents if they have any questions for me. So I kind of open up the floor to anyone to just shout out the questions. And I'm finding that's really helpful. And it's lowering the amount of like back and forth emails as well. Because like it's so much easier to answer a question through video chat than it is to like write out an answer, right? Like formulating those sentences and stuff always takes like 5 times the amount of time.
Yeah, exactly. It takes, because we have to, when you're writing it out for parents, you have to make sure that you're super clear in how you're writing it. But then also when they're reading it, there's so much room for like error or misinterpretation when it's written through email. So yeah, I could see how it would be so much easier to just do it over video.
And then sometimes like I don't have the answer, and I'll just let them know like, oh, I'll look into that and I'll let you know. And then sometimes depending on how timely I have to answer a certain question, then I will email them afterwards, or I let them know that I will answer at the next morning meeting. So I'll like find the answer, and then, because sometimes it's questions that are beyond like my knowledge, right? It's like something that the admin would know or whatever.
Right.
So yeah.
That makes sense.
And that really helps with the back and forth email situation, because wow, emails, am I right? Like everyone who's listening right now.
That has been a big thing that I've been hearing from teachers as we've been kind of asking questions on Instagram about how things are going. And yeah, it's the amount of emails coming in and questions. So maybe now let's dive into the questions or challenges that our community has let us know they're having. And we can chat those out and base it on kind of, so I'm not teaching in the classroom, right, or remote teaching right now. So I'll have a different perspective. Sometimes it's good to have an outside perspective, and then you'll have a different perspective. So let's jump into it.
Yeah, you can coach me.
Yeah, there we go. It's like a little coaching session. It's always good to have a perspective from someone that isn't in the situation.
It's so true. Okay, how many times have I called you over the last month and I'm like, okay, I need your opinion on this. Tell me what you think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's perfect. So the first challenge that a couple of people mentioned is just distractibility.
Okay, speaking of emails, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's so hard not to get distracted by the emails all day.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's something I've really had to I want to say compartmentalize when I'm checking emails, because otherwise I am spending my entire day in the emails and I'm getting so distracted with that.
And it's inefficient because our brain doesn't multitask well. It can only stay on one thing at a time. And as we're switching between tasks, it takes a little bit for our brain to switch into the mode it needs to work on this new task. So say you're, working on creating a lesson for tomorrow, and then all of a sudden you hear an email ping and then you jump over to the email, you're losing time every time you jump back and forth because your brain needs to warm up to that new situation. So
Yes.
How have you solved that problem?
Well, okay, first you said the ping. So let's talk about the ping for a second.
Yeah.
Get rid of the ping,
yes,
ladies and gentlemen.
Turn notifications off.
Seriously, I think that is it sounds so simple, but it's life-changing when it comes to being able to focus and not get distracted all over the place. So that's the first thing I would say. But again, I'm not an expert in this. But what I have been doing, and it definitely took me a little while to get here. Remember, Kaylee, 2 weeks ago, I was oh my God, I'm all over the place. I can't. I don't even know what I'm doing when. And I'm also trying to manage the business stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's kind of both, and I've had to really separate those in my schedule. That's a side note, but for the teaching side of things for me, I have decided that I will check the emails first thing in the morning and first thing in the afternoon after lunch, and that's it. And yes, sometimes I spend quite a bit of time in there because it's a lot of back and forth with parents, but the fact that I am giving myself a specific block of time to go in there helps me to be able to complete my other things on my list that would otherwise fall to the wayside because of the ping, right?
Yes. And I think one thing to think about too is that as teachers, we are used to working in chunks of time. We have a schedule where every day is scheduled for us. We're used to that structure, and we're used to forcing ourselves to complete tasks within that time frame. So one thing that can get lost when we start working from home is not holding ourselves accountable to that structure and taking too much time to work on some things and not enough time to work on others.
Yes.
So I think, like you said, blocking in, this is my email response time. That would be the same as when we're in the classroom. This is my prep time. I have to get my work done during this time. If I don't finish during that time, my students come in and it's kind of then I'll have to find another time. So I think that can help to stay focused on one thing at a time, A, and B, help to make sure that we're not spending too much time on something that shouldn't be eating up all of our time. We can prioritize a bit better.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that would be my advice would be create yourself a schedule and stick to it as hard as it can be. Mm-hmm. That's been working really well for me. Obviously, it took me a little while to get there. But I feel I don't feel like I'm all over the place like I used to feel even just a week or two ago, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've noticed a big change in you, even just in your energy. Those first couple of weeks, you were frazzled, as anyone would be. Your mind's kind of darting all over the place, and I think that's just natural. And I think it's important to note that you had a phase where you were in the problem and you had to sort out like, okay, what's
Yeah.
the issue here? And then next is like, okay, now how do we solve this issue and get out of this frazzled state? So I just want to say to our listeners, you know, it's okay to go through a phase where things are feeling off and just try to narrow down like, what is it that's really the struggle here? And then what can be a solution to fix it? So I don't have to be stuck in this frazzled feeling for too long.
Yes. And what was I going to say on that? Oh, okay. So another thing that our audience has shared with us that they're finding like really challenging is to learn all these different platforms and the technology not working and stuff. And I think, and this to me goes with the distractibility thing, but like, oh my goodness, when all of this started, how much was being thrown at us? Like, use this, use that, use this, try this. And it's like so overwhelming. And I was starting to feel overwhelmed too. And I just like hit a point where I was like, hey, here's the things I'm going to use. And I'm just going to stick with that. Like, sure, there might be other things out there, but like, let me just master this first. Like, both learning it for myself and being able to troubleshoot with the parents. And then that's it. And then if like in a month from now, I'm inspired to learn something else, then I'll do it. So that's like a big piece to me of the whole distractibility thing. Like, we were being thrown platforms at us. And in the end, I decided just to go with Teams. And I'm also using Flipgrid, which I haven't talked about, but I'm sure it will come up.
Yeah, let's get into that in a bit. I have another thing to add on that note with the technology is I think sometimes time can be wasted and like by just trying to figure it out as you go, but you can really speed things up by taking the time to actually do a training. So like,
yes,
you know, like
just take, so worth it.
There's so much great training on all these platforms. On YouTube, you can find trainings on everything. Just schedule a time to sit down. And even if the training is an hour or 2 hours long, it likely won't be that long, but do the training on it. That is going to just simplify your life so much. And it's also going to help you to become the expert so that when parents have struggles, you can be like, oh, I know how to solve that. So it's kind of one of those moments where you're using up time for training, which might feel like, oh, I don't have time for this, but it's going to give you back so much time in the end.
Okay, a perfect example of this is that in our Educalm classroom and the Educalm classroom free trial, we have a 45-minute training, which is like the longest part of the whole thing, basically the whole program. But all teachers who take the time to watch it have thanked us after. Like, yes, because they don't have to go through the pains that
and the trials and errors, right? They don't have to figure out, like run into the problems and then have to try to figure out how to solve it because we've already covered how to solve those problems. They can jump right in with how to correctly do it rather than, you know, jump in from zero and have to go through the growing pains. So do that training, take the time for it. You're going to gain that time back. Okay, so now I want to talk about we had a few different responses like this about struggling with the fact that the expectation from parents is that we're always available because we're at home.
This was a struggle for me.
Yeah, this was something that we chatted through and found, I think, what turned out to be a good solution. So do you want to share what you've done to manage that expectation that you're always available?
Yeah, that was definitely something I could feel that like if I wasn't answering an email within a certain amount of minutes, even in the evening, that it was not a good thing, you know?
Yeah.
But it was so simple. I sent an email basically stating that I work between 8:45 and 3:30 every single day or I'm half-time, so on my working days. And that I would not be answering emails outside of that time frame. And that's been so awesome. Like, of course, I often work before, after that time, but I never answer emails outside of that time anymore. So it's like, I let them know I will not be or I work between this time and this time. So don't, like, basically don't expect me to answer emails outside of that time. And the fact that I'm like actually doing it, right? It's one thing to say it, and then another thing to actually follow through with that. Because it can be tempting sometimes. You're like, oh, it's 4 o'clock, it's fine.
Yeah.
But I decided I'm not going to do that. And like now the parents are like totally on board with that. No one's having issues with that. Like I think everyone was just trying to manage all their own things. And now that I've stated how things are going to be, like I'm not getting any flack for it. It's all good. Parents understand. It's like we just needed to establish that, just like we would establish any other rule in the classroom.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing that we can kind of remind ourselves of is as teachers, we're quite good and used to always setting expectations with our students. Like everything we do, we're always telling them what the expectation is for them and what the expectation is for us. But, you know, maybe that might not be something that a lot of teachers have thought of doing with parents, of establishing those boundaries. Like, you know, I know for myself, when I was teaching in high school, my high school students, I taught math and science. So there was always students coming wanting extra one-on-one help. And if I just had, you know, open office hours whenever, I'd have kids in my class at all times and I'd never be able to get any prep done. So I had to establish with them, this is the, you know, lunch hour that I am in my class ready to work with students. It's not every lunch hour. It's, you know, these days a week. And this is a prep period where if you make an appointment with me, I will work with you one-on-one. So just establishing those boundaries just makes it easy on both sides, right? Because then the parents know when is the best time to connect with you, when they can expect to hear back from you. So if they do send an email in the evening, they're not like, oh, is she going to get back to me? I need to keep checking my emails. They know, oh, she won't get back to me till tomorrow morning or whatever time.
And once they know, and they're good to go.
Yeah.
Rhymes like a Dr. Seuss book.
Yeah.
Also though, like on that, like creating those boundaries, not just for the parents, but for ourselves, because we need to take care of ourselves during this time. Like, it can be hard.
Yeah. So, when you're working from home, it can be really hard to shut off and stop working. I know that I definitely struggle with that. It's hard especially when it's not like you have places to go in the evenings or things to do. So it can be so easy to just keep working. And sometimes that feels good. And like, I know for myself, in learning to work from home with EduCom, I go through periods where it feels really good to me to have a very specific schedule where I'm finished by, 4 or 5 p.m. and I don't work later than that. But sometimes I like to get a little bit flexible with myself and say, you know what, today I'm in a really productive headspace. I'm going to work a 12-hour day, but then tomorrow I'm going to take the morning off. So just creating those boundaries that sure, I'll work extra if I want to and it feels good, but I am countering that with self-care.
Yes. So important. Like, take care of yourselves. That's the most important thing here. And that's what I tell the families too. And that's a whole other challenge that parents are having, right?
Okay, so one thing that I would love to chat about too, as we're talking about that, is the worry that students are falling behind. So we talked about this a little bit.
Yes. Yes, that's where I was going. I lost my train of thought, but yes.
So I was saying just before we started this episode, I was telling Josiane that this thing came up on the news last night that really triggered me. I was like, I am not okay with this. So they had kind of what they called was an expert come on to the news to talk about how terrible it is that students are falling behind in their education because they're out of school for 5 months, and that this might mean that they're more than a year behind in academics. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not okay with how they're presenting this.
Yes. I feel like we need to flip the perspective on that. Like, kids are like, okay, I have so much compassion, and I feel so bad for the kids who have hard family lives. That's one piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, kids are still learning so many valuable life lessons right now that will serve them on the long term.
Yes.
So I try to look at it that way.
Yeah.
And that's what I tell the parents when some of them, and this is another issue that, or not, or challenge that has been shared, is that the expectation of all the parents are different. But like, one of my ways of working through that challenge that I'm having is to tell parents that kids are getting other experiences right now, and that's so important.
Yes.
Like, maybe it's not 2+2 academics, but these are things that will serve them for the rest of their lives.
Yes. Okay, here's
whatever life experience they're getting.
Yeah, here's one thing that's really coming to mind for me. Okay, so when I was teaching in high school a couple years ago, all of my students had their own devices. So it was a very like technology used school. We used a lot of technology. And one thing that actually I found was lacking was that students had technology in their hands, but they didn't always know how to use it. So I remember when I was in school, we actually had computer class, but that fell by the wayside because it was like, oh, kids are tech savvy these days. They don't need to actually learn how to use this technology. Now, what I see in this remote learning situation is this is a really great time for kids to really learn how to use their devices well and learn technology. So I think they're going to be coming out of this with a lot more knowledge in technology. So even like what you said with that morning meeting where you took the time to actually teach them to turn their microphone on and off, like that's an important learning thing. That's something that's important. Like when we do presentations online or things online, a lot of adults don't know how to do that. It's a very useful skill to have and it will be useful in the future.
And on that, like also for me, like all this technology that I am learning right now, I am planning to continue using it with my students in the future. Like I'm seeing this is in that like perspective, like it's just, this is such a good thing for my teaching because it's really taking me out of my comfort zone and forcing me to grow. And I'm like learning so many things that I'm soon going to be applying in the in-person, the real life classroom.
Yeah. So I think that instead of thinking of what is being lost during this time, we need to really focus on what is being gained and the different competencies that our students are learning by being in just a whole different situation that they never would have had the opportunity to be in before. And the resiliency that's being built, the problem solving that's being built, the relationships that are being built, those are all so, so important in childhood development. I am curious to see how we come out of this on the other side. I hope that what is going to stay is more of a focus, of course, on social emotional learning and relationships and community building and team building. And maybe some of the really stringent academic stuff might fall away a little bit as we see that like there's so much more to a child learning and growing and gaining the skills they need to do well in the world than just pure academics.
The thing is, they're going to do really well academically if their brains are in a place to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and on that, we have like our free trial. Tons of people, parents, teachers are using it at home with their students.
Yes, that has been one really fun thing during this is that we've had so many people, new people start to use Educom Classroom. Our free trial is available to everyone.
And it's so easy to use at home for everyone. Parents can figure it out, no problem.
Exactly. So that's one positive we're seeing, definitely, that people are looking for those ways to manage emotions and to learn that resiliency. So if you're interested in trying that out, go to educalm.com and click on the free trial button. So that's EDUCALME, and then you can start using our program for free.
And if you are a parent and you want a little training on how to use it, we created a 11-minute video. It's super short. So yeah, if you want to learn exactly how to do this with your kids, they can go to Kaylee. I'll let you.
That one is educalm.com/at-home, all one word. So EDUCALME.com/ATHOME. And we'll put both of these in the show notes as well. So if that's easier, you can just click on those show notes links.
So your exit ticket for today, I feel like it should be to just remind yourself that you are doing an awesome job.
Yeah.
Wherever you're at.
Yep. Just keep on keeping on. Really focus on that growth mindset and know that we're all learning this together, and perfection isn't the goal here. It's about looking at things in new ways and growing in brand new ways that we never would have had the opportunity to do before. And that growth is usually uncomfortable. So that's okay. It's okay to be uncomfortable. It's all part of it. Awesome. Thank you so much for being here with us today. We will see you again on our next episode. Take care.
Bye.